Ink Ribbon.
It's rare when a game that revolutionized a genre and was one of the most successful games ever to then go on and have a remake that is somehow able to not only make the game better, but also feel fresh and new. Somehow, Capcom pulled it off. Before I get into it, this review will be spoiler free up to a certain point, and I'll give a warning when I go into spoiler territory, so you can watch the first part if you haven't played it yet, and come back after you've beat it. Also, this review is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. I bought the collector's edition with my own money, and all my thoughts and opinions are my own. With that out of the way, I am very excited to bring you my review of Resident Evil 4 Remake. Whether you're familiar with the original Resident Evil 4 or playing this as your first go at it, you won't be disappointed. Completely reworked from the ground up, a lot of respect, love, and care was given to this game, and it really shows. This game took everything that was great from the original and expanded on it while minimizing or even removing the parts that weren't so great. Obviously with this are environments, which are much bigger and more detailed, but also reworked to feel real and fleshed out. Instead of walking right up to the house at the beginning, Leon has to go through dense foliage and navigate some creepy sections before ending up in an empty, creaky house. It's a small example, but these little changes make the whole game feel so fresh. The story has also been rewritten to be a lot more realistic and just improved in general, especially in regard to Ashley, but obviously I won't get into that just yet. Along with reworked environments are an overhauled gameplay system that improves on the Resident Evil 2 remake scheme to the point that I would say it's been perfected. It now incorporates all of the cool moves Leon is now capable of, like rapid knifing, parrying attacks, and dodging. When you see the knife symbol change as an enemy attacks you, hitting the parry button will cause Leon to use his knife to deflect an attack, and if you do it at the perfect moment, called a perfect parry, Leon will stun the enemy and open them up for a free melee attack. It is worth noting that while the knife can do amazing things, it has to be constantly repaired by the merchant. If it's broken and you have none of the smaller knives in your inventory, then Leon can't perform any of these, which can really screw you during some fights. I will say I do wish that Leon had a dodge mechanic like Jill did in the Resident Evil 3 remake. I constantly find myself crouching out of reflex to try to dodge attacks, and it just feels like it could have fit into the gameplay nicely. I'm also not a fan of a quick turn being mapped to the R1 button, but I did get used to it after a while. Going back to the topic of melee, there's a small detail that was added that I have to mention because I love it so much. You know in action movies during fight scenes when the good guy hits someone so hard you hear their neck snap, indicating that they are now dead? Well, this game does that, and an action movie fight is exactly how it makes you feel when you dropkick a Ganado so hard you hear their spine break.
Sorry, must have slipped.
And if action is something you'd like to keep to a minimum, you also have the option to sneak up behind enemies and silently take them out, which is often worth doing if the opportunity presents itself, especially on the harder difficulties. It can save you a lot of ammo. The jigsaw inventory from the original is also back, though there is now an auto sort option if you weren't a fan of it, and regardless you shouldn't have much issues with inventory management so long as you aren't hoarding. If you do find your attaché case getting a bit too cramped, you can now store certain items at save points, specifically weapons, which is great because as you customize your weapons you can keep them and save them for later. You can also now customize your case and add charms. These charms can be unlocked through the new and improved shooting range minigame, which is just as challenging as it was in the original. Different cases and charms have passive effects, such as making handgun bullets more likely to be dropped by enemies, or being able to craft 20% more of a certain type of ammo. And yes, I said crafting, just like Resident Evil Village, though this time around it's much more prominent. Also returning is the treasure system, which unsurprisingly has also been reworked, now allowing the player to set jewels of their choice to make the most valuable treasure they can with different combinations of gems. In my opinion, the beauty and fun of the game really comes down to the game design, which is constantly rewarding you for doing a good job and keeps you motivated to keep going. When I first played this, I just wanted to play a quick chapter or two before bed, and I ended up playing for about 5 hours because I couldn't put the controller down. Having said that, I will say that this game definitely leaned away from horror and much more into action, though that's to be expected as it does it well. There are a handful of moments that made me jump, but they're the types of scares that only get you once and never again, but I'm also desensitized to horror games at this point, so it's probably just me. One last addition worth mentioning, because I already know some of you will spend hours doing this, is the addition of photo mode, allowing you to pause the game at any time, even during cutscenes, and snap a photo of whatever you want. I can't wait to see the photos that you guys take with this. So before we head into spoilers, I just want to say that if all of this doesn't sound awesome and make you want to play the game, I don't know what to tell you. And there's even more that I can't mention because I consider it gameplay spoilers, but trust me, even though I am definitely a biased Resident Evil fan, this game is amazing. This is the first Resident Evil game to receive a 10 from IGN, selling over 3 million copies in 2 days, and possibly the best remake of any game so far ever. Resident Evil 4 is a wild ride from start to finish, and I have to give it my wholehearted recommendation. Okay, this is now your spoiler warning. If you haven't played the game, this is the time to stop the video because I'm serious. I'm really going to get into all sorts of stuff that you'll want to experience on your own. Trust me. Alright, still with me? Let's get into the spicy stuff. Well, I don't know if spicy is the right word, but man, oh man, the changes to the story are so good. I can finally talk about Ashley. Now, I have never had that much problem with her myself, but I can understand why people didn't care for her. But this Ashley is just so likable. This time around, instead of being a whiny damsel in distress who's always getting in the way, Ashley now feels like a real person. She isn't just the president's daughter, but also a college student and a normal girl. Even though she still relies on Leon, she's capable and self-reliant, sometimes just suddenly helping Leon in unexpected ways, and it's surprisingly refreshing for her to actually be useful to the mission. I also love the way that Leon interacts with her, being really protective and caring while also treating her with respect. It's kind of like if Leon was a guard dog in human form, and it's really sweet to see how they work together and get along. On the topic of dogs, I am so relieved that the dog from the original is actually still alive. They got us a little bit. Though I do have a problem with how many animals this game asks you to kill. I think it's just a pet peeve that I have, no pun intended. But when all these horrible monsters and enemies are everywhere, seeing some little chickens running around or even snakes is almost comforting. And then you find out the merchant wants you to kill them for a freaking mission. Ugh. As an animal lover, it bothers me, but this game is not exclusive in this, so I'm not going to hold it against it. When I first played this, I decided to play on hardcore, and I'm happy to say it's nowhere near as hard as Resident Evil 2 hardcore was. Well, it was until I got to a few points where I really had to struggle. The 3 main choke points that I truly struggled on were defending the house with Luis, the boss fight with Salazar, and the final fight with Sadler. Thankfully, the merchant's rocket launcher works the same as it did in the original, so I was able to sell what I could to afford it, and was able to one-hit kill both Salazar and Sadler to just get it over with. Call it a baby gamer move, but that's what the rocket launcher is for. I'm dreading professional, but I think it'll be a fun challenge. And the unlocks make it rewarding because I'm very excited about the prospect of Leon wearing cat ears and cool sunglasses. Though I think dog ears might suit his personality better, but maybe I'm just reading a little too far into this. Either way, accessories were a great addition, and I hope they become a staple in the series from now on. It's fun. So what did you guys think of the story changes? I think it was really well done, and I'm happy with pretty much all the changes, though this definitely changed the canon a little bit. Some changes were minor, like Luis joining Leon in some sections and being killed by Krauser instead of Sadler, but other changes were bigger, like Ada never even meeting up with Krauser during the story, instead solidifying her partnership with Wesker while Krauser was all about revenge from the events of Operation Javier, which I was happy to finally see included in the canon. And the fight with Krauser was so much better than the QTE knife fight from the original, this time allowing the player to dodge, parry, and attack on their own, and it felt really cool. I did find it surprising that Ada wasn't more present in the game though. I got really excited at the beginning of the Sadler fight because it looked like Ada was going to team up with me and help, but in typical Ada fashion, she just pulled a Batman and disappeared. As a Resident Evil fan and as a gamer, I am so proud of Capcom for giving this remake the love and care it deserves and listening to fans when it comes to changing too much or cutting content. Resident Evil 4 Remake is amazing. I am a big fan of it and I can't wait to keep playing. I also can't wait for Mercenaries to come out, and I'm ready to dive into the VR version when it comes out for PSVR 2, so keep an eye out for those releases as well. Now obviously I thoroughly enjoyed the game, but I would like to hear what your thoughts on the game are as Resident Evil fans, because I'm sure some of you have been waiting years for this remake to happen. So if you want to share your thoughts on the remake, leave them down in the comments and let me know what you guys thought of the game, especially if there's something you actually preferred in the original versus this version, because I'm just curious to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions. And be respectful, please. We're just having a conversation. Some people get so angry. Okay, well, this review has gone on long enough, so I'll end it here because I want to go back to playing this wonderful game. So, until next time, I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon. And a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Your extra support means the world to me and helps me keep making content for you guys.